Welcome everyone to the Future Proof Podcast. What started as a conversation about probate turned into a deep dive about kind of generational wounds, financial healing, and why real estate is way more than just selling and buying houses. Geoffrey Serdar is not your average realtor. He's been through a mess of probate himself. He's coached clients through family breakdowns, and he's built a business around helping people make clean, empowered decisions. So especially when emotions are high and clarity is low. We talked about how he found his way into this niche, how to guide clients through transactions, and why he believes real estate, done the right way, can help rebuild the American family. If you've ever felt the weight of responsibility when helping someone buy or sell a home, or if you're just tired of service level industry talk, this one's for you. Let's get into it. I was doing a little bit of research and kind of looking you online and looking at your Facebook and Instagram and website. And then it's kind of interesting the time of life that I'm going through right now, and one of your most recent YouTube series or video series on probate.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. Why did you find probate niche?
Sure. So I've been in a few situations in my career where people have lost family members, right? We all know somebody that has passed away, right? And I didn't really grow up in a family where everything was really dialed in from like a trust and estates and essentially like the compartmentalization of like how do assets flow from and through the generations. So I didn't have a frame of reference, but at a later age, I have become far more advanced in my understanding and how to do that to protect. Right. And we had my wife's grandfather, we had essentially like given her father all the necessary steps to make sure that when her grandfather had passed, that everything was going to be very clean. It's a very hard conversation to have, especially upwardly, right? Because who are you to be half his age and give advice? That's number one, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so there's going to be tension there no matter what. And I don't actually blame people for being frustrated when someone younger gives advice to an old, like I understand that, it's not exactly a resentment, but what it is, it's just like, well, who are you? I've had a longer life experience, right?
Yeah.
And
for
so
sure.
we studied, put the plans together, really made it easy to do, but you can only bring a horse to water. You can't make that horse drink, right? Like it's an age old, like saying.
For sure.
And and again, like I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I also think that the purpose of these types of conversations, right, is for not just you and I to learn, but whoever else is going to be an audience member and read this as well, right? And
Yeah,
it really
for sure.
comes down to this. Because of the ineptitude and the lack of caring, not just care, but caring about these things, there was just a big mess. A mess that we ended up having to like deal with. And that's okay. I'm not like upset about it. Better I than another person.
Yeah.
And I've been in the industry of selling and helping families in their real estate decisions for a long time, 13 something years. And, we've created our own, like a decent sized portfolio as well. Right. And because of this 13-year period and all these families that I've served for so long, right, I've obviously seen other people go through something similar, and when you're in Minnesota, like, let's just say I live on the west side of town now. I live on the border of Chan and Excelsior.
Okay.
You're kind of in an area where there's like people that have like phenomenal generational wealth in their upbringings, right? And then you have like guys that don't at all, but there's a certain level of connection there where they're sort of like orbiting one another, and there's like respect and like awareness and all these other things. It's not really something I was used to growing up in either Minneapolis or Bloomington. So it's just a very different world.
Yeah.
Because of this, I've seen like different families and how different families have actually done this. Probate is it's just a pain in the ass, and it's not necessary. It does take a little bit of care and advice, but like a will does not protect you. And people don't understand that. A will is good for some things, but no matter what, a will still force you into a probate scenario, which can have a lot of complexities and problems and a bit of drama sometimes. And so I thought to myself, I've been in that drama before, right? And kind of sucks. Like people get jealous. People get frustrated. People get cold. Families can be cold. And I mean, I've seen like the closest families sort of deteriorate during probate. And so I thought to myself, maybe because I've gone through these problems, I got a fly in here. Maybe I can go through, since I've gone through these problems, I can like package up all of my failures, right? And describe those. Because, right, like education is just a set of failures that you've like reasoned through. And then you know how to not do that the next time, right? Maybe I can
For sure.
package that up and get people through it in a more simplistic process, or
Yeah.
like a happier process. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a long-winded weave to get there.
Right. Well, it's better than just I liked it. So
Yeah.
no, no, I appreciate
So
the
what's going on
backstory
with
to
you?
it.
You say you're sort of going through this right now. What's happening?
Yeah. So my wife's father passed away. We found out on like New Year's Eve. So it's pretty fresh
Wow.
still. We haven't just planned the funeral. I mean, got that all set up for the end of this month.
Were they close?
They weren't at the time that he passed, but most of his life, there were.
Hmm.
He suffered from alcoholism. He served our country. He was a Marine. He did like 2 tours. I
Where?
think he served for like 20 something years, Afghanistan and Djibouti and a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff overseas. I think he re-enlisted right after 9/11.
Wow. Well, he
But,
re-enlisted.
yeah,
So
he
was he
re-enlisted
like,
after.
did he go to, was he Desert Storm and then he re-enlisted?
I think probably something like that. I forget what the first tour was. I think the second tour was the Djibouti, kind of like Somalia and
Yeah.
like kind of that region.
90s.
And after that, he's just struggled with the alcoholism a lot of his life, and that's what really kind of ended up really killing him at the end of the day. So leading up to that and leading up to this, at the end, he just bought a home in September. So we didn't know about it. We just found out when he passed away that the brother-in-law or her uncle went over there, found him with the sheriff and everything like that. But
How many
we didn't know about
siblings or how many heirs are there in total?
her and her sister, so 2 heirs. And then there's like a divorce, a couple years ago with someone, so we're navigating all that. But with the house, we're not 100% sure what to do. So it's funny when you posted that or whatever, I was like, wow, this is actually going to be a good conversation, and then I can actually talk to you after this for a recommendation, because our first initial thought process was that we wouldn't really need to go through probate, but now we'll definitely have to do some sort of it, if it's with a
What county is
lawyer,
the
or
home in
we can
and
do
what
it.
county are you guys in?
We're in Dakota. The house is in Hugo.
It's in
But
Hugo.
he bought it with 100% finance VA loan, and he bought it 3 months ago. So
So there's not a lot there.
there's nothing there. I mean, it's going to cost, my whole idea, and I would actually, we'll talk after, and maybe I can talk with someone that you refer us to, because I didn't have any referrals. I mean, just let the bank take it. You know what I mean? At that point, we're not
Here's
on the hook for it.
here's eventually one of the things that I think would be of value to you is how I have sort of governed a lot of my decision making when it comes to should one keep an asset or liquidate it, right? And I use
Yeah.
that term asset and keep or liquidate because you guys have no emotional attachment to this particular house, it
Yeah.
seems.
No. Yeah.
This
Absolutely
is,
not.
and in fact, this is actually more of a problem than it is anything. Because if you
Correct.
bought it 3 months ago and there's not any margin of equity there, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like, it pains me to say this, but you got to empathize the situation. It's like one more knock in the jaw from your pops to your wife, like
Yeah, for
one
sure.
last hurrah. Like, hey, never mind all the idiocy and the alcoholism and the pain that I've like led you through in like the later part of my years, whether that was self-medicating or not is irrelevant. It just sucked balls, right? To the point where their relationship was so strained that they likely didn't talk at all that last like 2 years, probably.
Yep.
But now you guys now he's like making you clean out his garage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. it's been a process.
So yeah, here's one of the things that I've found to really help those decisions, right?
Okay.
And I call it the 5-year rule. And I did make a video on this as well. So I was working for this guy. He was quite a bit older than I. He was in Vietnam, and then his buddies were in Vietnam, and they own quite a bit of property together and separately and all these sorts of things. And they basically just did like, hey, should we hold it or should we sell it? And it all has to do with the net cash flow. So what are the carrying costs all in from your principal and interest, right? And then your taxes and insurance, and maybe a little bit of like repair costs, those sorts of things, right? You slam them all together, and then you have the residential mortgage, which is your world, right? Like everything. You take that number and you try to look at the market and just say, hey, what would this thing actually rent out for currently now? Not hypothetically, but actually in today's current market. So let's just say today's current market, is it a decent house?
It's a condo, so it has an association, which sucks.
In Hugo,
Uh,
there's condos in Hugo.
yeah, yeah. It's like literally right on the border. Where I forget the road that you're coming off of, but when you turn on off the freeway and you get onto his road, you go through the down a. I'll look it up later,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
literally pass by the Hugo sign, and then his street's like three streets down. So it's right inside Hugo on like the border of
It's
whatever
like a
town is
two-bedroom or a
west of it.
three-bedroom.
It's a 2 bedroom, 2 bath.
Is it a newer building or like a East building?
Oh, it's newer. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit newer.
Okay, so it probably rents out, unfortunately, probably rents out at a max at like, clocks out at like 20, probably 2,500 at the absolute top end, but
Yeah,
closer to probably like 2,250,
and
right?
his mortgage is closer to like with the
The mortgage or
association.
the rent? I'm not talking about the mortgage. I'm talking about the
The
rent.
mortgage plus HOA is closer to what he's paying on his mortgage was close to $3,000. So
So we would take figuring out what it would rent for, figuring out the mortgage, and then looking at, in this case, it's going to be negatives, right?
correct.
So typically I would do this 5-year rule to say, well, what's larger? 5 years of net cash flow at current market rates. Take that, multiply that together, you get your 5-year or your current equity position after like all fees when you sell
Yep.
the property, right? And then whichever is bigger, just go with that. Like take
Yeah.
the emotion
Good
out.
idea.
In this case, you're going to be taking a little bit of a loss either way, certainly with time, not necessarily with like fees and all those sorts of things. But let's just say your net loss is like $50 a month or something like that. If you were to rent it out, okay, well
Yeah.
that's only $600 a year loss plus some repairs. So let's just say your net loss was like after 5 years, you're looking at maybe like 6 grand loss. However, if you sell it, what if it costs you 15 grand to sell it, to actually sell it, right? Well, in that
Absolutely.
case, it really would be in your best interest to rent it out. And then not only do you have a smaller loss, right? But you would also have all these various benefits of like depreciation and various other things that you could get. So that's something that you and I can kind of like walk through. And I can just say, hey, these are my thoughts. Here's your gonna be your you got two back. Unfortunately, the reality is you got two challenging decisions, right?
For
Like
sure.
your decision is, do you hold on to it or do you sell it? Right.
Yeah.
One thing that's nice about this is because there's no upside, Alex, the sisters aren't going to fight
Yeah, for sure.
because it's bad in either way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, they're pretty much on the same page with the two. So it should be a simple thing to figure out. It was just more of like even at the end of the day, I mean, we might not even like sell it. It might just be bank, come and take it, have at it.
Yeah.
Cause he doesn't have any, it's not like we're sitting here fighting and figuring out like this massive inheritance that is left over
Well,
either.
do you know about military pensions and how that
Yeah.
transfers
So
through the heirs?
yeah, we're figuring that out right now. And
Yeah.
there's
So it really does sound like you need maybe an attorney resource that's kind of like in that
yeah.
space to help kind of navigate it a bit.
Yeah, again, and we just found a divorce decree from his previous marriage, and so it'll be fun. So we'll figure that out. But so you mentioned you live in Excelsior, that area. How long have you guys lived there for?
So we bought this place Gosh, I want to say it was certainly before COVID. It was before Minneapolis was going through all of its complexity. Let's just
Yeah.
say we got the place. It was a duplex. It was in pretty tough condition, to be honest, but it was in an absolutely beautiful area. Sabrina was from Mound, where she grew up.
Okay.
And I grew up in either Minneapolis or in Bloomington, depending on the year, depending on the parent. And we just thought when we walked the grounds, I actually looked at her and I just said, "Hey, would you enjoy raising kids here?" Right? Because
Yeah.
it was just really pretty. It's a big lot. It's completely surrounded by a park preserve. It feels like we have 20 acres to ourselves, and we don't. We have,
That's
you know,
nice.
we have a couple. It was just like full of life, deer and coyotes. There were cranes. Like it was just so, pardon my language, but fucking idyllic. Okay.
No.
And we were in a 2-bedroom condo at the time with no sunlight. And so, I mean, the cranes are really what did it, bro. Okay.
Oh, there
We
you
had
go.
like
Yeah.
these cranes just flew into the sky.
It's just
And
majestic.
I just asked her, I was like, wouldn't it be funny to like see one of our little ones run around buck naked in the in the front lawn and nobody's able to see, like the joy of having kids.
Yeah.
And, we just, it took seconds for us to like say, yeah, let's attempt to buy this place.
Nice.
So locked it up. And then we went back that evening, and I'm sure I called the agent. He's a cool guy. I really admire him and respect him, but I admittedly can't remember his name. I think Chris Rooney. Yeah, it was Chris Rooney. If you ever heard of that guy.
Yeah.
And, it's just like the sense of privacy was something that it just felt really good. But again, remember, this was before everybody was like escaping the inner metro, right? Like this was like right before it.
Yeah.
So then part of the negotiating was that I had the right. So part of the purchase agreement is that I had the right to market and fill the side of the duplex that we weren't going to reside in before close. So I worked on that. I filled it. I got somebody in there. So immediately it's like generating some revenue. A cute family, a gal and a couple daughters. Their kids ended up going to St. Thomas and all that stuff. And we started to go to work on our home, ripping out walls. There was a Amsterdam ladder that is basically a very like, it's like a stairway, but it's like this to go into the attic. And the attic had no insulation. It had no like good floors, no drywall, no windows. And we went up there because we tore off all the plaster and drywall in our unit. And it was just a little bit nicer up in the attic. But the problem was we opened up the walls so much that we had an army of mice
No.
get at us. So our first night, we're just hearing like just all around us. Okay. To the point where like we're on Amazon, we're getting one of those orange bucket, like walk the plank mouse traps thing that like you fill with water, and you put
Yeah.
peanut
Yeah.
butter on it. And
Yeah,
like
I've
we
seen
put
it.
it, yeah, we put that thing down and we're just like hearing bloop, bloop, bloop. Like one night, there must have been like 30 that we got just that night. So the next day, we ended up putting a tent in the attic, and then we put our bed in the tent so that they couldn't get us.
Uh,
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
yeah. Yeah.
So
That sounds
then,
like a.
yeah. So here we are. We've removed the walls. We're living in the attic, and there's no heat. And then COVID begins.
Nice. All right. So perfect
So
timing. Yeah.
perfect timing. So we had all these plans of what we were going to do, and we put everything on hold. But because the attic had no insulation, we ended up moving back in to our like wood framed, visible, like this whole place is in a state of mass chaos.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where we're living until we finally said, you know what? We don't have the time to just wait. We might as well just do it. And then in addition to that, we decided, you know what, we might as well, if it's going to be this complicated with our life, we might as well add a kid to this. Okay.
There
We
you go.
might as well bring life into this world because, if it's going to be the end of the world, I need a little buddy.
Yeah, for sure. And
You
how
know?
old is she now?
She's now she's 4 3/4.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good. So now what's the state of the house?
So I have a buddy who I really admire, good friends. I've also worked for him on many occasions, and he owns a pretty big portfolio. And he looked at what our architectural plans were, which was
Yeah,
still going to be a side by side duplex, but like here was the attic, and then we were going to have like the main and then go down because it was like this. And he said, Joffrey, that's just so stupid. You need to dig around the chimney, and you need to make it more like attic, main level. That is its own unit. And then combine the lower level walkouts of the two units and make like it a lower level walkout condo, like a house on top of a condo instead of a goofy L shape unit. It's the whole attic and then like a row house. And
yeah.
honestly, he was absolutely right. It's just that I paid 20 grand for architectural renderings and he screwed my plan.
That sucks. Yeah. Well, I mean, it probably cost you or saved you some money too, obviously, doing it the
Yeah.
right way. Is that where you were? So in your videos for the probate and you're sitting at that table, is that looking back into that fireplace?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. A nice green. I like the paint. I like the paint job. My favorite color is green. So
Thank you.
I was really liking you guys' interior there.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, well, cool. So now what got you into real estate? Like other than probate, I
Yeah.
know that on your page, first time home buyers is a big focus of yours as well. But what else gets you up in the morning for real estate?
You know, I admittedly moved a lot growing up.
Okay.
I think like what I had always wanted was to know what it's like to not have to anymore.
Got it.
And so there's a certain level of like, a lot of what we do in life, especially how we parent, is truly trying to like fix something that we dealt with before. Do you know what I mean? Like we're trying to fix something deep inside of us that has sort of been like tearing at us a bit, right?
Absolutely.
And part of it was, like it's nice to get somebody to have like gravitated out of like that chaotic apartment building and get them a lawn. And I used to like listen, I'm 41 now. The condo life, I totally get it when you're in your 20s and 30s and you're
Oh, yeah.
trying to smash and like have fun and chase and all this other nonsense. But like, there's just something so nice about like having space. Like, I used to be a city guy. I'm terribly disappointed what's going on in Minneapolis. Like I grew up in Minneapolis in Kingfield and like what a beautiful town it used to be. Now it's an absolute fucking disaster, pardon my language, but it just is the reality. It's like
Yeah. Where in Kingsfield?
yeah. So if you're in Kingfield, there used to be two Super Americas off of Lindale.
Yep.
And now one of
Like
them.
north of like Martin Luther King Park.
Well, I admittedly don't even know where Martin Luther King Park is, but like if you were to take Lake Harriet, East Harriet, Lindale, then Kingfield, there was a Super America, and then there was another one across the street on the other side of Lindale. What is this, like 30, maybe 30,
Yep.
something like that? The second Super America, it turned into a bar restaurant thing called Harriet's at one point,
Yep.
which was okay, but it had like too much negative space between the tables and chairs and felt a little awkward. That thing closed down, and now it's like this phenomenal Laotian restaurant.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
when I was younger, I would go to one Super America, I'd write down the price of Snapple, and then I'd walk to the other Super America, and then like if I'm saving 8 cents, bro, I'm saving 8 cents,
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's awesome. So I mean, you mentioned having that feeling of like, moving around a lot
Yeah.
in your childhood and trying
Yeah.
to, help people, get a little bit more stability in their living. So that's kind of
It's
why
not
you're
just
drawn to that first time home buyer.
it's not just that. It's I think like a lot of first time home buyers get served by people that are very elementary in the industry. And this is not me like trying to say, hey, I'm smarter, I'm better. It's not that, right? It's they're calling their best friend that got their license last week, right? that guy just doesn't know what's happening yet. Okay. You kind of like, I made plenty of mistakes early in my career, right?
Absolutely.
I think these first time home buyers need a little bit of, hey, I need to make sure you're not making any big major mistakes.
Yeah.
Cause like I didn't like I think a part of it was I never asked for advice in anything in life, right? Like I've just tried to like learn by putting my hand in the fire, right?
My bootstrapping it.
But I love making sure people don't repeat my mistakes, right? So it's like I grew up in a blended family with a lot of siblings, a lot of younger siblings, as well as older. I was in the middle. And, it's like I kind of like being a coach, like I like,
Yeah.
and I really love snapping people out of a rut. Like it's huge when I have had like imprinted upon someone and changed the trajectory of their life by like bringing their own awareness to their own ability to accomplish great things in their own life. Right. And the only way you can do that is you got to be stern, right? You got to be, you have to have a higher sense of standard than they do for themselves. Right. And you have to like help them be like a great decision maker, but it's all just them. You know, it's like, and it's just, and it's fun. Like I consider what we do for a living, like a great game. I think it's a game. It doesn't feel like, of course, prospecting sucks, but like once you're in it, it's just like high velocity, but you still have to sit back and take it all in and reason through things at a really high level because you're literally managing some of their biggest like financial decisions, right? And they don't know what
Sure.
to do. So they're putting a lot of their faith in us to make sure that they're making the right decision.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I think I'm drawn to first time home buyers more, not for the education. I mean, I've always been an educator. I was a chef in my former life. So
Yeah.
that was literally what I did every single day in and day out was teach somebody how to cook and, kind of mold them into what my standard was in the kitchen. So
What kind of a chef were you? Whereabouts and what kind of
I was
meals?
I graduated from Johnson and Wales. So I was French trained. And then in Minnesota, I did a couple stages in Denver area at school, but in Minnesota, I was primarily for a pretty long time at the beginning. I was a sous chef and chef at Jake City Girls when they were kind of big around the area.
But yeah,
Uh, yeah,
did you
yeah,
ever
they
work
had.
up north and around Gull Lake?
I didn't go to the Gull Lake one. I had a
Yeah,
couple
okay.
chances and I never
Did you
did.
work in Eden Prairie?
I did work in Eden Prairie. Yeah.
Did you
I was a
know
chef there for
Roger
2 years.
Wainwright ever?
Roger, it sounds familiar.
Roger Wainwright?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I don't
He
think
was
I
like he would have loved to go to Jake's all the time back in the day.
okay. Yeah, I was there and Plymouth was my two
Yeah.
there. So I got my feet wet really well there being a sous chef you know, running operations there because they had a pretty big operation. It was a huge menu. They were super busy, back in the day. And then after that, I went to Hazelwood Grill and Tap Room in Tonka Bay. So now
Is
that's
that
Hazelwood food.
where did you live during those periods?
The entire time I lived in Prior Lake.
Oh,
So
that's a hike, bro.
I was driving 50 minutes each way, at the max in Plymouth. Same at Tonka Bay. And then after that, I actually got like an operations job for, I went to Nordstrom too. So I was executive chef for Nordstrom for about 2 years. Not a lot of people know they have restaurants inside. They're big flagship stores. So Mall of America and also, what is it? Not Woodbury, Ridgedale has a restaurant in there. Did that for a couple of years, and then I went to as an operations manager for the nutrition department for all of like Fairview hospitals in the Twin Cities area. So kind of fed the patients and did all of like the retail shops. So that was right around COVID. I literally moved to do that like 7 months before COVID hit. So that was kind of a blessing. And then a year and a half into that, I found the mortgage business and never looked back. So
Where were you working in this late like where are you working now? Or living now, pardon. Where are you living now?
we live in Richfield.
In Richfield.
So
And
yeah,
are you in are you in the quintessential Richfield house where it's like
I'm in
there's
a
four types of homes in Richfield.
Yeah, I am in a very weird one. So it's
Are
the
you in the basement right now?
it's the quintessential, what?
Are you in the basement right now?
No, I'm
Oh,
actually
okay.
in technically a room that is my office on the main level that
Okay.
doesn't have a shower on the main level. It just has kind of like what do you call it, like a powder room. And then downstairs has a weird, what they called it is a like a living room down in the basement. And then there's a utility room, a hallway, and then like a storage area in the back. And off to the side was a very, very large room that they didn't have a closet or an egress window. So they only had it as like a marketed as a living room.
Oh yeah, this is
Added,
not a traditional floor plan in Richfield.
yeah. And I asked, and then like the upstairs, we have a living room right out here, my office, the kitchen, there's the dining room, and then we have a really big front area with like some vaulted ceilings.
Mhm.
And upstairs in my room, in our bedroom, is 2 bedrooms up there. Our room's normal size. My son's a little bit smaller. It's in like kind of like the attic area type of thing, where it's like the roof is slanted, but it's perfect for, you know, a 3-year-old's room, and he loves it. So, you know, it's good for what we have right now. We're obviously going to have to move. We're going to, you know, start trying probably
You're hitting peak
a little bit.
capacity in there.
For right now, we're good. You know, for us, we're fine. But for bringing another, we want to have another kid here in the next like year.
And how many kids are there? How many kids do you have now?
Just one. So
Yeah.
yeah. So good for us now. But, you know, and also too, Richfield's not a really great, I love Richfield. Like if we didn't have kids, I would stay in this area forever because it's just so close to everything. You know, you got I hate traveling to travel. So having the airport like literally like 7 minutes away is awesome. You know, the Twin Cities right there. My parents in Lakeville are right down, you know, like 20 minutes away. My sister in Edina is like 5 minutes away. So it's perfect. But raising a kid in this area, it's so established. There's like no kids around. Everyone's like super old, you know,
Yep.
living with our neighbors. So
Kind of like it's kind of like Bloomington. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of it's almost it's fascinating. It's like I once read that like Bloomington now only has one child for every 13.
Really, that's crazy.
That's so crazy. Whereas
So I
out
want it to be
here,
like
yeah,
Lakeville, where that's like turned around. There's like 13 kids for every one house type of thing.
Yeah. Where we are, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of like push carts and like super young babies.
Yeah.
But there's just a sea of 14-year-olds and they're zipping around on these $3,000 like e-bikes going like 55 miles per hour. And then, you know, like you see these kids that like they must have bought it like just that day. And then they like torque the thing and it flies up into the air. And you just think it's about when I was young, I had a shitty BMX bike from the pawn shop.
If I was like a 14, 16-year-old, like now I'd probably be dead if we had those e-bikes.
Yeah.
So it's probably good that we did.
They're awesome. They're like,
I don't know if I'm going to give my 13 or 14-year-old one of them, but
yeah,
yeah, for sure. I would love to, if I buy one, I want to buy electric, it's called electric bike or whatever.
What are those? Like a bicycle that has a motor on it?
Yeah, it's an e-bike.
Yeah.
It's a brand. They're just kind of one of the bigger ones. The only reason why I want electric is because I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's a YouTuber on there called like Ryan. I forget his name, but he's kind of a younger kid where he did like 50 states in 50 days, and electric bikes gave him a e-bike and he rode it in every state, and they donated like $500,000 to St. Jude.
Wow.
So I don't know. So if I buy one, I'll support them because that was a pretty sweet thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so that was my story with
so your heart seems to bring you down to the Southern Metro. That's like where you're thinking you're going to be next.
Yeah. My parents are in Lakeville.
Yeah.
Me and my sister both graduated from Lakeville. So that was kind of the area. My wife was in Burnsville. So we're kind of that south. I don't know anything other than like really south of the Metro. So that's kind of where we would be at. But, you know, going into 2026, you know, with your demographics that you know, like the first time home buyers, that probate area, and maybe just like, you know, real estate general, like what do you see coming in 2026?
What's my forecast?
Yeah. What's your forecast for?
Dude, my forecast is people are going to be extremely decisive this year. And it seems like I'm seeing it already. And, you know, everybody always wants those rates to drop more.
Yeah.
But they're still lower than they were. And like last year was a bloodbath. Everybody was shocked. Everybody was locked in. The people in their mid 60s to mid 70s were so disinterested in selling because the rates were not allowing them to get what they want. They're all greedy as shit. Like these boomers are like, of course it's worth 850. Like I'm telling you that Cherry does not make that place worth 850, brother. It's like,
Yeah, for sure.
but I'm seeing a lot of people be extremely decisive. Now, I'm not quite sure, which topics we can go into with like your viewers and audience and everything, but like I think we're going to see another outflow out of Minneapolis and a new flow into Minneapolis. But the flow going into Minneapolis will not necessarily be buyers. It will be renters. And there will be
Yeah.
a lot of inventory coming up for something in Minneapolis because, let's be honest, there's a high immigrant population that was undocumented and they're no longer going to be servicing the debt that they had gotten on some of these properties, right? Because a lot of people don't realize that you don't need to be a U.S. citizen to get a mortgage in this country, right? Like plenty of people could do it with like a 9-9, whether or not they had a warrant or not. Trying to lead myself into one perspective or another. It's just that that's what my opinion is on what's going to happen in the city. Just like what happened, several years ago, there was a rush out of the city, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really feeling like that's happening right now, once again, like right now in this moment.
I wonder why.
It seems like a lot of things are going into contract right now in the last few weeks of January. I think your industry is going to have a lot of refinances, and that's
Yeah.
going to keep you extremely busy. Nothing is going to be like it was 4-something years ago in this next year. I do think Powell is going to push as long and hard as he possibly can, truly, because it's less about the economy and more about conquest of personalities. Unfortunately, we're all dealing with it right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I think like a lot of people also, especially men, like a lot of men have become very indecisive in their own lives over these last several years. This whole concept of like the forgotten man, right? Like, if you're not a super high skilled, like careerist and you've been essentially replaced by much lower skilled, lower paid persons, all of a sudden that labor pool is going to get tighter and those guys are going to start to get hired once again for the first time. And so there's going to be a lot of new liquidity in the system from those guys that have been renting up until they're 38 years old, all the way to 45. Right? Like those guys have essentially sort of like given up, right? But they gave up because guys were taking their jobs at half the dollar, right? So those guys are going to start to get hired again as like finishers, carpenters, roofers, all those sorts of things. And they're going to start to say, you know what, I've got some money in my pocket for the first time in a long time. I'm going to go look for a home. So I really feel bullish about these, like, I'll call them fifth tier suburbs or whatever, like
Yeah.
your Mayors, your Newports, all those sorts of areas. And honestly, those are the best places to buy as a first time home buyer anyways, because it's just a cost thing. Like they're relatively low. They're absolutely low crime, right? Blue collar in the good ways that blue collar is. Those are great like places to get your first place. It's not your
Yeah.
forever home. It's your stepping stone home. You're going to live there for 2 to 4 years, right? You're going to get out of your shitty 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. I mean, you and your girlfriend are fighting because there's just not enough space,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
you're going to get yourself a house and raise a family. Like the whole
Yeah.
thing, like, I listen to a lot of opinions and perspectives, and everybody thinks they know what I am from a political standpoint, but like they don't. But housing is what creates family, and family is the answer to everything. If we as a country or as Minnesota or the Twin Cities aren't trying to figure out ways to generate families, then all of it's meaningless. And it's just chasing materialism and dopamine. That's it. Family is the elongation of every generation prior to you and every generation thereafter. Like it's the duty of life. It is honoring the sacrifices. Like you think about like what people did 100 years ago, and you're just gonna check out genetically. What a selfish like act, right? And so we have to. I just feel like people are seeing that message and realizing they're internalizing it for the first time in a long time. They're getting away from this like nihilism and they're like, their soul is like wanting that again. Like they know something is missing in their lives, and it's as simple as the little human that you've created, or that like looks at you. Like, there's just something like these people without kids don't realize. Like when when your kid looks at you in such a way, you melt, right?
So, yeah,
And like, and a house helps you build, like, yeah, a house is like it's not just the walls, bro. The house is the candle on Christmas dinner,
yeah,
like it's like all these various things, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be yours.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm seeing decisiveness is what I'm seeing.
I mean, I love that description. I love that breakdown of it. Also, very intriguing. I haven't seen your analogy of kind of what's to come with like kind of those outskirts suburbs kind of being, kind of the next big thing due to like kind of what's going on in the atmosphere right now in Minneapolis. So it's very interesting. We'll definitely have to do this again and have you back on if people are looking for help in probate, first time home buyers, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I'm easy. Text me. You don't even have to hear my voice, even though I think it's a pretty good one. Just shoot me a text. It's 952-58-3100. It's the easiest cell phone number to remember. I mean, you even remember, what is it?
Yeah, you got 3100. Sounds like a radio
Yeah.
ad or whatever.
Yeah. Just shoot me a
All right,
text
man.
and just
Well,
say, hey, I need help and I need to know what's next. And I'll just
okay,
do it for you.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for joining me tonight.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation.
Cool. See you, Alex. See you,
All
buddy.
right, see ya.